You know, I normally come on here and have some chaotic and over-the-top intro, but today that does not really feel appropriate. Not only doesn't it feel appropriate, but I don't really think there's any type of laughter or type of over-the-top positivity that would be suitable for this video. Howard Finkel, legendary ring announcer, for all of you know, did pass away today or yesterday. His cause of death is not disclosed. And this whole WWE situation with all these guys getting released is just awful. And it's really not, you know, we talk a lot of shit about WWE, but I would never wish for somebody to lose their job, especially one they've worked so hard for. But it's not only that. In a positive news, Roman Reigns announced that his wife is expecting a second set of twins, which is great for him. But we're going to go over all of this. It's just a really shitty situation for everybody. I hope everybody's staying safe, but this is definitely going to be a video that you might want to watch. Before I get into any type of news, I do want to give my condolences to Howard Fink's family and anybody that was closely associated with him, and by all of those people. Before we begin, I do want to give my condolences to Howard Fink's family, and by family I mean blood-related family and also the wrestling family. All of you had some unique story. And a lot of you had a different perception of Howard Finkel, but you all had one thing in common, is that you knew that he loved the business, and he definitely seemed to touch a lot of people inside the business, and it's way outside of wrestling. Like I said, it's beyond the mat at this point. Howard Finkel definitely, you know, when he was in his prime ring announcing, I was much younger. I wasn't really, you know, a wrestling fan at the time. But I definitely did go back and do my research, of course. I wouldn't be doing a podcast if I didn't do my research. And it just goes to show you, you know, I've watched or I've listened to many of the matches that he's announced and just different things. And I do believe that he had an iconic voice inside of professional wrestling. And I feel like like I said, it was beyond the microphone, where he touched so many people and he impacted the company. WWE did state that he was actually their first ever employee. I do believe that he started in 1977, and you know, those of you that lived through the Attitude Era, watched it, went back and watched it like I'm doing, you just know the type of impact that Fink had, and that was definitely very unfortunate news to wake up to this morning, and it's definitely not the breakfast that I wanted to have this morning. But to me, you know, being an entertainer and being on here and doing all these kind of different unique things, Fink definitely had an impact on my life. Again, I didn't really see him do his ring announcing career as it happened, but I did go back and watch so many clips, and we've seen his appearances throughout the years. And he was a unique character. He was involved in a lot of different funny storylines, and it was one of those things where, you know, there's certain people, and again, every death matters, and I think that that's something that people tend to overlook. Every death matters. Professional, not professional, famous, not famous, but there are those certain ones when you are surrounded and you have a love for a business. There are those certain ones that hit harder than others, and that doesn't mean that their life is valued more than others. But Howard Fink is one that hit me harder than it probably hit a lot of most people, because for me, like I said, I do this shtick on here, and I want to be this entertainer and do all these kind of things, and you know, for somebody, for me, I connect a lot, not just to the wrestlers, but I have a strong connection to the ring announcers, and even more so commentary, because I think that, you know, the wrestlers can tell a story, but a lot of times the announcers and the commentary team, you know, is really what makes the story, because when it's all said and done, when you go back and listen, and this is commentary, I'm not talking about ring announcing. When you go back and listen to some of the most iconic moments in professional wrestling history, you always hear the call. And I think that it's a very hard thing to do, because when it's a big moment in history, you only get one shot to do it. And I feel like I do need to give a shout out to the commentary teams, just in general, and the ring announcers, because all of them really do have a very valuable part in the business. And Howard Fink was just a different kind of breed. He was very good at what he did, and he was loved by many, and he will definitely be missed. So I want to give my condolences again out to everybody. I was definitely a big fan of Howard Fink, and just a very, very unfortunate situation. And unfortunately, the negativity kind of continues. Now, when I made this video yesterday, there was about 10 names that WWE announced that they released, and I went through those names, and I wasn't surprised. But again, you know, I do a lot of jokingly things on here, but when you really do look at it, as much as we shit on Vince McMahon and we shit on the product, you have to have some kind of sympathy a little bit for him. And I know some people it's hard to do because they'll sit here and say, well, he gave Goldberg and he's given all these guys that have no business being in a wrestling ring these massive contracts. You know, you're giving Goldberg $1 million here, $1 million there. And they're right, because I don't think that, you know, I'm not trying to belittle the type of value that these guys had on the company, but I think that to an extent, that's not necessary. I don't really think Goldberg needs to be anywhere near wrestling television. I don't think he should be in the ring. And it's not even so much a problem of him being in the ring. But I just don't think, you know, you have all these guys that are trying to cement their legacy in the business. They're young, they're healthy, and they really have a certain kind of grit to do this. And I think by bringing these older guys back for a lot of money, and even sometimes, you know, going over these younger talent, it just makes no sense from a logical standpoint. And that's one of the things that really did bother me, because, you know, I'm not a fan of Goldberg whatsoever, but I didn't even mind him coming back so much, but it was the fact that they gave him this much money. You know, Brock Lesnar's a little bit different. Still, it's a shit ton of money. And these guys aren't full-time performers either. They were great. They're both Hall of Famers, but I think the thing that people don't realize is that their appearances from this point on, not that they don't matter, I just don't think that they're necessary. Where if you look at the amount of, let's look at $5 million roughly. $5 million can feed a lot of families. It can give a lot of money to guys that are on that roster, are very talented, but for some reason haven't gotten their breakthrough, haven't gotten their opportunity to do all these kind of different things. And that is really just what irks me, because I don't think bringing those older guys back and giving them this shit ton of money, and then now you have to cut all these guys because you can't afford to pay them. Now, the virus is nobody's fault. You know, I don't blame Vince McMahon, and I do understand from a business standpoint him wanting to go on with the show, because again, you can't just, you know, shelter in place and you got to pay all these guys, and you can't because you're not making the revenue that you did. That is one of the reasons why the XFL went bankrupt. I didn't think the XFL was going to be a successful thing. You know, from the people that watched it, they said it was good. Again, I never really gravitated towards it. I couldn't get into it. They filed for bankruptcy because, again, they got to pay all these players. They're not getting any revenue. And between the XFL and the WWE, Vince McMahon has to pick one, and he will always pick WWE over any type of other establishment. That is his blood, sweat, and tears. So that to me was kind of one of those things. You know, the XFL, it's very unfortunate that it shut down so quick, because they didn't even get to the playoffs. It's really just a shitty situation for the XFL. But and you know, it's, you know, I'm sure that Vince didn't want to release a lot of these guys that he released, but part of me, I feel like some of these guys are going to find success outside of this company. Some of these guys are going to struggle, and I think what really hit home for a lot of us was when we saw the Drake Maverick video of him, you know, being emotional. And I think that people don't realize is that a lot of these guys on television, they may not get the spotlight, and they may not show, you know, they might not be a Seth Rollins, they might not be a Randy Orton, they might not be these kind of guys, but it doesn't mean that they're not busting their ass and they're not doing everything they can to get to that point. And some of these guys have that talent, and part of the problem with WWE is that they have this talent and the company does not know how to process it. And that is where a lot of the frustration between all of us fans gets to, is because we see these guys, we know how valuable they are, and they don't get the proper shine they deserve, or even worse, they get that proper shine in NXT, they come to the main roster, they start making this money, and Vince has nothing for them. Again, I'm sure it's very difficult to balance every single person on the roster, but there are a lot of guys on there that, when you've been watching this product for as long as I have, or just anybody in general, you see their potential. I see guys like Rusev, you know the type of potential that he has. You see guys like Lio Rush, if you've ever watched Ring of Honor or any of those things, you know how talented he is. And even more so, guys like EC3, you saw, now TNA is not the most popular form of entertainment, but you've seen how valuable somebody like him was on TNA. And again, it doesn't always translate to different companies, but guys like that, I do think will find success other places. The Revival getting released, they wanted their release. And I don't blame them, because WWE has not had anything for them. They haven't really given them a chance to show their potential. And that's part of the problem. That's why a lot of wrestlers leave WWE. It's not, they can throw out all the money they want and they can hoard all the talent they want, but a lot of the problem with it is that those guys aren't happy. And, you know, they will flaunt all their money all they want. Their family could be living a good life, but they know that they want to wrestle. And WWE hasn't really given a lot of these guys that opportunity. And that's where I think a lot of the problem is. And, you know, we've seen, you know, this is not just an opinion. This is a majority opinion. And we've seen where these guys go and they are go to a different company and they prove the exact point of that. We knew Luke Harper has been sheltered for years. Wide family, a little bit of an intercontinental title run. We knew, watching him, how talented and how valuable this guy was, but WWE didn't want to pull the trigger on him, because from what we're told, that Luke said that Vince thought of him as some southern hillbilly that he wanted his shtick. But the problem is that AEW, you know, they're not firing on all cylinders either, but they're working together as a team to benefit and let these wrestlers have this creative freedom and to do these type of things that they want to do. They let these wrestlers go out and be who they are. You know, that's like putting someone in front of a camera and telling them that, you know, well, this is what we're going to do. But, you know, it's one thing to win or lose, but you always have to stay true to yourself. And I feel like a lot of these guys leaving is for that reason. And again, some people break through. WWE is not all negative. A lot of what we see today is. But there are certain situations, you know, I don't mean to shit on the company completely, but this is news for people to listen to and just understand from a situation, because it's not just one person. This is not just my opinion. This is majority opinion, and I think I speak for a lot of people with the frustration aspect of it. You know, Matt Hardy was a huge example. TNA, the broken gimmick, one of the best gimmicks of all time. That's how popular it was. Went to WWE, completely failed. And he's been in AEW for 2-3 weeks, and this guy's getting to show who he is. And that's part of the problem, is that WWE is very, I feel, political, and they like who they like, and that's it. They don't give opportunity like they say they do. And again, we're not behind closed doors. Who am I? I'm not a wrestler, but it's just things like that. You know, again, we're not behind closed doors, but when you see certain things like that, it's kind of just really, really frustrating, because these are supposed to be people that are designed to be creative, you know. And I can't blame it all on the writers, because there are certain situations where the writers, I'm sure, take things to Vince McMahon, and he completely shoots them down. Water break, how you doing? But to the other topic, Vince McMahon. I do have sympathy, and I really hope that all these wrestlers get what they deserve, and they get another chance. Again, some of these guys that have been released are going to be brought back, because that is just the standpoint of it. A lot of these guys are going to be brought, not a lot of them, but some of these guys are going to be brought back in the future. Kurt Angle's one of them. Wasn't a wrestler, but backstage producer. Certain guys will be brought back, but I think a lot of these guys will not see WWE again. Not based on talent, but just situation. Now, Roman Reigns, positivity, 14 minutes in, how about it? Roman Reigns has announced that his wife is expecting a second set of twins. We don't know, or maybe it was stated, but I didn't correctly read it. We don't know that if she properly announced this, or how many months pregnant she was. I'm going to say maybe it was a couple. But this comes at a very alarming time. Let's assume that she's 7 or 8 months pregnant. This is a very, very bad time. Now, Roman Reigns is not going to retire. For the people out there thinking that he's going to have kids and he's going to be off TV, people forget to realize that the woman is the one that's pregnant. It is not the male that is the one pregnant. But she announced he's have a second set of twins. I think the next step would be, out of curiosity, is to see how many months pregnant she is. Because Roman Reigns is obviously off TV now. He's high risk for the coronavirus. But I think what happens now is, if it gets to a point where she has the babies when all this settles down, well, Roman Reigns is still going to be on TV, but is he going to be in a main feud? Is he going to be away from his kids, especially as they're being born? How much time is Roman Reigns going to be away after this all settles down? And I think that's one of the things to factor into. But definitely congratulations to Roman Reigns for winning. Look at me. Congratulations to Roman Reigns for winning the win. There again, I said it again. Congratulations to Roman Reigns and his wife. She's expecting a second set of twins, and that is definitely good news. Through all of these dark shadows, there is some good news to be reported. So that is that. But that's really all I got for everybody. I just wanted to talk about that. I do wish the best of luck to all the wrestlers that have been released and WWE going forward. I hope they continue to make better decisions. But it's just unfortunate, and I hope everybody stays safe.